programming languages. Step-by-step instructions for any beginner for a specific tool or programming language that would give you a good crash course. Where to begin? How to quickly adapt with a strong foundation? We will cover the most popular and difficult aspects of many tools and languages as we go. Today, we will cover Rust programming language. This session is with a Malaysian programmer where I am the mentor and clearing the doubts. Since the content is too long, hence I have divided it in parts, else the video would have been too long. So, let's get started. I'll show you a proper program on that. But for for future, what I'll do for any program that I give and you find it difficult to write or you can't understand the logic, I will go forward and explain you the logic. But then, what exact code you have to write, you need to research on that. Let me start from this main function. So this is the main function, and I've written two lines over here. The first one is where we are defining a function. So what are functions? We'll cover that today. That's why I've written this code so that you will understand what is a function. I won't go into the detail because that is what we will cover in today's session. For now, let's get into the logic of reverse string. Okay, so what basically I meant was when you write a reverse string was this part, the highlighted part. Can you see that? Okay, so the main thing is if for example I have a 4-letter word or a 3-letter word. What was the objective? You have to read each character one by one in the loop and store it in a way where whatever word is there, I start reading it from the last letter. That is the main criteria of this of writing this code. Okay, so for example, here I have passed. This is the string that I have. That is, this is cat. Okay, so I need to read each letter one by one. The first character or first letter I will read will be T. Okay, and any string, you have to think about a string as a collection of characters. Okay, and each character has a placeholder. Now, let me just explain you what I mean by that. Any string of length 4. So the character at first place will have what value? Sorry, the index of that character in that string will be 0.
So string of length is 4, not 3.
Uh, okay, and okay, in case of cat, it is 3. I'm just giving you an example of 4 so that you understand. Okay, let me take 3 only. So we have a string of length 3. The first character starts, the index starts at 0. So C will be replacing the index of 0. So if I pick the character at 0th index of that string, that will be C. Similarly, I have to pick each character from their index. So every index, so it will be first index will be A, then second index will be 2. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain you?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. So that is the logic behind it. We have to pick each character at their index and run it through a loop while we start from the last character. So if the length of the string is 3, the last character of the index will be 2. We will placeholder the index of 2 and pick that character and store it into a new string. Similarly, we've done this here. We have picked the character, that is the first line. We have collected the character. Okay, and initially we've started with the string. Okay. We created a new string here, reverse, which we'll call reversed. This is the index initial dot length -1. Okay, and we have used a function push character and then index. So we will take the last character first time, and similarly it will go on. So it will put the second index first, then the one index after that, and 0th index later. So this way, this reversed string will have all the characters in a reverse mode. Let me quickly run and execute this, and it will print this. Okay.
I have
Mm,
this whole piece of code I have copied in that homework sheet where I had given you the homework. Now this
yeah.
is the loop that it is using is this loop. You need to write similar code using for and while. So the syntax
Yeah.
might change a little, but the functions will remain same. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying here is that the logic that I just explained, that I might explain it to you for any program I give you, but the logic here, like what methods you need to use, how you
Mm,
need to write this code, this you will have to figure out. Because this
okay.
is a very small example I can tell you, but for each code that you write, you have to develop a logic. Just keep hit and try, just keep trying. I'm sure that obviously when you try for the first time there will be mistakes you won't be able to find, but how to collect the functions, how to place the string, this is like just go to the API, do one thing,
Mm,
just Google, just search the API, what kind of methods there are, you know, there are different kind of methods, how you can use them in your program. Just do a little bit research and I'm sure you will find the code. Is it clear? Can we now switch to the session for today?
yeah, I think we need to switch, we can switch now.
Okay. You have any questions you can ask me?
No. Because I keep facing one problem is like you need to use constant for non-constant stuff, and then second one is a option. Option OPTION. I keep seeing this casting object something like that. Maybe we can learn later.
Yeah, we will go through that casting and constants and everything. That's why I'm doing it step by step. So probably maybe not in today's session, maybe in tomorrow or day after session I'll cover. Start by functions today. For each programming language is same. The more or less the syntax is also the same. The requirement for writing a function is also same. But just to iterate once more, that why we actually write a function. What is the reason behind writing a function is we have a certain piece of code which we as a developer think we might need in future. There is a set of instructions or set of logic that needs to be repeated in the code, and we don't want to write it again and again, and that's the main reason of writing a function, so that we can set it aside and then use that function later anywhere in the code, call it multiple times, and that's the only reason why we write functions. Right, exactly how we did in the reverse string case. We instead of writing that code in the main function, I wrote a function for it so that whenever we need it, we can just call the function and reverse a string, any string we want to reverse. Right? So similarly, we can write functions. So this is the syntax for the function. You can pass the parameters. We will put dot dot, and this will be the return. The any string or any integer you want the function to return, and this will be the function body. A little bit syntax change, but then more or less it's now how to invoke a function and simply how to write a hello function. So we've done that in main. It's just that name that function something else, call it from the main function and write a hello over here
Mm.
and then call it in the main. So we've already done this. If you have any questions, otherwise I'll just quickly pass through this.
Yeah, this one not hard. I
This is also how to invoke a function from main. It's just similar, just to show how the syntax is, how you will call that function from here, how you will define that function here, just to show you the syntax. The most important part of a function is a function returning a value or it is not returning a value. Both can be the case, right? So when you have a return type, this will be the syntax. After the function name, you put an arrow and you put the return type. So it can be string, integer, float, or whichever data type it is, but you have to mention it. And then last statement will always be return and the value that it is returning. So
yeah.
this is the basic syntax for writing a function that is returning a value. Hmm. Are you clear on that logic, or I'll explain a little bit what is returning
Yeah,
value from a
I
function?
understand. This one I understand.
All right.
But I have a question. For the parameter,
Yeah.
can it pass by reference like Java in Rust?
Yes, we can. So I'm just coming up to that. When we are passing it by value, so any function where we are only passing a value, which means we will give it a fixed value and that can't be changed,
Mm,
right? This is a very simple example of when we are passing value from the function. So we will define this integer. This is a keyword. I'll cover this later. This is an integer. Okay, we are giving it a value, and then this is the function that we created. Mutate non to zero. Parameter is this, and then just to reference that you can not change this value, right? It is not a reference. It is
Understand.
only a value, and then you simply print the value. Most important thing, even which we maximum time we use in the functions is pass by reference. What does pass by reference means? As you just asked a question, so can you explain what is pass by reference?
Pass by reference meaning the parameter need to pass to the function and then you change the value or something like that. And meaning you're able to change the parameter value, something like that. And then is reference mean you pointing to some object. You
Exactly.
change the value in the reference object, not your object, something like
Exactly. So what we mean by reference is when you're invoking a function where you're not passing a value, rather you are passing a reference, which means you are telling the function that see, this is the memory location I have allocated for this name of that variable or the data type, and anything that is stored in this memory location is passed through this function. So it is basically pointing to that memory location or the storage location of that variable or that data type. That's why it is called reference, because we are actually referring to that memory location. So any value stored in that memory location or that reference point is that what we are passing. And that's why it's not value, it's a reference.
that. Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah, clear.
Can you repeat that? Because this is very important part.
You mentioned that it is a reference, right? So it is not the value.
And if it's not the value, what are we passing actually?
The memory, the value inside the memory address.
No,
Yeah,
not the value inside the
it
memory
should be the
location.
memory address, right?
Only
Passing.
reference to that memory.
Yeah,
What is
reference
the
to that memory.
location of this? So that it's more clear to you.
Okay, let's say I pass A as a reference parameter, meaning that if A point to B, then I can make it point to C, right, in the function itself.
Yes, logically you can do that. If that's possible, it's like your code. You can do anything with it. So one variable can refer to the other, and the other can again refer to the third one, so that
Mm,
you can create a chain. So all three of them will be referring to each other. That's possible. Logically, you can do that.
yeah, I
But when you're
understand.
passing through the function, it will be one reference, and then you can just refer that one variable to the other and other to the third one.
Okay, yeah, I get it. I get it.
So I'm not doing a code here because we just did, I think so it covered all of it.
Mm,
So let's just quickly go through the next one. So this is one new data type or storage type, you can say, in Rust only. I didn't see
mm,
it in any other language, which is called
yeah,
tuple. Right?
yeah.
It's a kind of a scalar data type where you are defining that these are the data and these are the values. Kind of like little bit like an array, but not exactly like an array. Okay, so you will the syntax for it will be like where you will give the name and these are the data type, what data type it covers, and these are the values. So
Mm.
a little bit similar to an array, but not exactly. Right?
This
Because you also
looks like JavaScript. JavaScript also got this kind of thing.
okay. Okay, I was not aware of that because I have not
Okay, okay.
extensively used JavaScript. Only initially in my career I used JavaScript, not like too much.
Understand, understand.
Okay, okay, so then it's easier for you if it's in JavaScript.
Mm, yeah.
Okay, so this tuple is a scalar storage data type, Mm, and this is how you define it. This can be one syntax, this can be the second syntax. So second syntax, we are not defining what are the data types, we're just giving it a value, and in function main. And then when we print it, we don't need to define the whole thing, just colon and question mark and the name, and it will print everything. You want me to run this code once or it's fine?
Yeah, I should print. Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever is in the tuple, the data type that we've given, it will print exactly. Python or these languages is because what the difference I see is Java is very extensive. So for anybody to learn and master Java is taking a lot of time. At least anybody, if you ask someone, it takes at least minimum 6 months if someone doesn't know Java. So even till date, that it's a extensive time. But for Python, for all these other languages, it's like, okay, just do a crash course for 1 month and you can at least start writing code. And for Java to
Okay.
write a code, it takes a long time. So that's why I
Maybe.
think so more people are switching who are not already into Java are switching to the other languages so you can quickly do that. So that's
Yeah.
the main difference.
Yeah.
The API itself in Java is so extensive, it's difficult to anybody to keep pace with the JDK that they keep releasing and everything.
Yeah. But Java is using in a bank. Java is used in banking or insurance also, right?
It's used in all the domains. I mean, it depends on, uh, obviously, technology depends on, maximum companies the CTO decides, or definitely who's deciding on the technology depends on them, what preference they have. Okay, so let's move to destructing in this the tuple that we have. So what we can do is assign a value and then even de-assign the value from it, right? So distinct variables we can give it to. So what mainly you have in array? If I define an array of integer, it will have all the integers. But for tuple, the main thing is if we have one data type is integer, second can be string, third can be boolean. So this is the like variation that tuple offers. So the first line is we are inside method. We are taking this tuple where we have one is age, one is if it's a male or a female, and the third one is the CGPA of the student. Because this was just a function. Okay, so first with the executing, can you see this function that has a data type, very simple data type, which we are passing into this function and then printing it. So it has printed all the values. Any questions here?
No question.
Do you understand the code?
Yeah.
We can use this tuple as a data type where we need multiple data types within a single reference to pass. It's very easy. Next, we come to array. It is very similar to like in all the programming languages. It's a set of data types, a similar set of data types. We can define what is the length of the array, and we cannot change it afterwards. So once we have a set of array of length of 8, 9 or 10, we can't change it at runtime, right? It's not flexible. So using the syntax of array here is very simple. Just define what data type it is and what is the length. And here we've given it value. Values we can even assign at runtime. But
Uh, can we set the empty, declare the empty array without value? Is that
uh,
possible?
yes, and set an empty array and then use it later. So this is the simple array where we define the data type, the length, and then this is how we print it. And even the length, we can print the length, although we have only defined. You see one difference here. The length of the array is 4, and we have 4 values, which means the index is not starting at 0, or how is it?
Yeah, no, because index still start with 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, but
Yes.
then
So index will be always 0, 1, 2, 3,
yeah,
but the length will be 4.
yeah, this one same apply to all the programming languages.
Yeah, all programming languages, I guess. It's now array with for loop. To show you that. Can you see the screen like this? So I won't present it so that I can write the code also.
Yeah, can.
So this is again almost a similar array that we have. We are just writing this in a loop. Okay. how we do that is for index in 0 to 4. Now that we know the length, we can just mention 4 over here. But like I asked you to do a reverse string, what we will do is, in that case, you will use for index in 0 dot dot, and you will take out the length of that string and run it till the length of that string, right? And inside that for loop, you will try to extract each character of that string right from the last place, put it in some other string, and then do it. In this case, what they've done, they've the in they've printed the index of that array, right?
I ask you a question. The number line 6, array dot length, right? You can see the arr dot len, right? Can you move to like,
This one.
can you move, okay, this one, this line, and then the last variable is arr dot length, right?
No, what is your question? I didn't get it.
Because in line 8 you are putting 4, right? I'm thinking whether can you change it to arr dot length. Number 8, this 4.
Over here, instead of four, yes, you can do that. So for string also, you can do string dot length here, and it will work. It means now array is clear how to pass function, pass by value, pass by reference, and array with a loop. All this is clear. Okay,
Yeah,
then we come to the concept of mutable array. You might have seen this MUT keyword at a lot of places.
yeah.
You
It's not
can
only
use
array.
it.
It's not only array, right? Other type also.
Yes, so wherever you use this keyword for that data type, it will be mutable. Unless it's like very specifically defined. For some cases, it is already mutable because you're defining a value. So it's understood when you're defining a value and not changing that value, it is a mutable. So anything in uh, any programming language, the value that cannot be changed once it's written is mutable.
Understand?
Here, why we are specifying, because we don't want this array to be changed later, and that's why we are giving it a keyword. Otherwise, an array can be changed at runtime. You can easily change the value of this array further, right? But we are defining a keyword. Then in that case, we can't.
Understand?
Okay. See here, I have tried to change the index 1 over here to 0. So now when we print this, it means it will be a new array now, because this value that we have defined over here is mutable. Is that clear? Do you have any
Yeah, clear.
questions?
Understand.
Similarly, passing arrays as parameter to the function. We can also pass a complete array to a function so that we have a larger set of values when we are passing it to the function. Just like we had strings, or we can do for other data types also. We can even pass a mutable array so that the value of that array does not change. And whenever we try to change, it will be pointing to a new memory location. Do you understand when we change the value, what will happen? So when I define a mutable object or a mutable array and I try to change the value, what will happen?
Uh, it should be okay because you are declaring it as mutable, right?
Okay, so when we are declaring as mutable and we give it a new value, which means now it is pointing to a different location, a different memory location, or it is the same memory location.
I think it's the same.
It is the same memory location. Why? Because it is mutable. And if it's not mutable, then it will be always a different memory location.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
in this case, in case of mutable, we want that same memory location to be updated, and that's why we define and declare it as mutable. Let me just run this code of pass by value for the array as parameter. So what we are doing here, we are defining an array and we are calling a function that we've created as update. Here, the array that we are passing as reference, we have defined in that parameter, we are defining it as new. You see that?
Mm.
So when we are declaring this array can be used as something different also, a simple array, but this is a mutable array. So let me run this and then we'll see the difference, that Before updating, what is it, and after updating, what? Can you see the difference?
Yeah.
Can you tell me why that is?
Uh, you mentioned that it is mutable, right? So you can pass by the array value.
No. So the difference here is we are not passing a mutable array. If we were passing, okay, if we were passing a mutable array from here, then both the values would have been same because both would have been mutable. What we are doing here is we are just passing an array, but in that function it is only mutable. So for any value of this array inside the function is mutable. That means any change of this array inside that function will not be referring to some other memory location, but outside this function it will be pointing to a different memory allocation because here it is not mutable.
Okay, I understand what you said. So you mean that inside the function, it is mutable because the
We have
variable is declared as mutable, but outside the function, it is non-mutable.
exactly. So only specifically when you define this, when you use this keyword only for that particular piece of code, it will be mutable, or for that area, it will be mutable. Outside it, it's not mutable because here we have not used the keyword. Now, a homework here, I'll write it on the homework sheet also. Do one thing, create two functions, one where we pass a mutable array, where we don't pass a mutable array, one where we declare a variable that is mutable here, and then we are passing it as mutable, and one function where we are declaring it mutable here and we are passing it mutable. What is the difference between two different functions?
Yeah.
I'll write it in a very simple line, but I'm explaining it to here so that you know what exactly the program that it is.
This one
You
is a
understand?
power. That's why Rust is powerful. Maybe
Yes,
it,
exactly.
it increase the flexibility.
Yeah, because of the flexibility. So now we because this will be very important for you in future when you're writing the code, that when to use a mutable array, how to pass a mutable array in a function, where you need it, where you don't need it. So if you do that right now in small piece of code, when you're writing a bigger code, it will be very easier. So make sure you understand this concept very well. Just write multiple codes, try the variations, define somewhere a mutable array, pass it, then change the value, see how what value it's printing before that, what value it's printing after that, and then again change it to a immutable array, then pass it, and then see what is the difference. Do all the possible permutation and combinations you can do with this, because this will be a very important part when you're developing. Okay, so I'll give you 2-3 questions around this only. So if you don't understand any question, any program, do one thing. Just write below that question, just write it in red, just mark it in red, your question below that program. So even maybe tomorrow, if I see, I can just, answer your question so that you don't have to wait for the next. Okay, so next is array passed by reference. So pass by reference for array is almost similar to how passing by reference as we did in a function. So it's just that when you call the function, you are using that array, and it is a reference to that array, and whatever you make the changes in that array, it will be reflecting when you print it. So let's do the code quickly so it's more clear. Now in this case, when we are passing the reference, did you see value is not mutable? That means whenever we are passing a reference, it is referring to the same memory location. So any changes we make to that array the changes will remain same. So even if initially we defined it as 10, 20, 30, it will be updated.
So let's say you remove line 7 to line 9. What is the outcome? Line 7, 8, 9. If you commented it,
So for loop,
yeah, you remove the follow. See how what's I want to see the outcome. Yeah, can you play it, execute?
because we are not updating anything here, that means.
Mm.
It's just we are calling the function with a print statement.
Yeah, let's say you are not using reference, you're using value. What is the differences? I think you mentioned just now.
Yeah, so let's do again. Let's go back to that value part. So like here it was in this code, the earlier code. Wait, I'll open two windows and see. Here we are passing a array,
Value.
right,
Oh,
without reference. We are passing the value. So when we
yeah,
are changing that value, it gets changed, and when we print it, it's the changed one.
I know
But
what's the
when
difference.
it's outside the function, it is
Yeah,
still that initial value because it is a
yeah,
mutable and we are not passing by reference.
yeah. I
It's
get it.
not
I get.
pointing to the memory location. But in
Yeah.
this case, we are
Yeah.
passing by reference, and that's why it is pointing to that memory location.
Yeah. If you pass by value, then it will execute the changes only happen outside the function. If you pass by
Exactly.
reference, the changes apply to inside the function and
Yes,
outside the
because
function.
when you're passing by reference, it means it will be pointing to that same memory location.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
The only difference is when you call the function, you use this. And here, when you call the function, you simply pass the array.
Okay.
Ampersand array and array will make the change, will make the difference. I hope this is clear, or I'll give you two, three
This.
programs to write so
Yeah.
that
This
it
is
will be
clear.
more clear.
Yeah.
Because this part is very important, will be used everywhere where you write code. What is passed by value, what is passed by reference, where you need it, where you don't need it. Wherever we were here, passed by reference. So this is clear. I hope no more questions on this.
Yeah. No more question.
All right. So this is a very simple, basic concept. We don't need it very much, but then I'll just quickly go through is declarations and constants. So when we have any requirement to declare a constant, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
Just have a
Usually,
look at the code.
usually constant is capital letter, right? The
Yeah,
variable.
yes, the syntax or the naming convention for a constant is capital letter, and normally it is used for when you're referring to a pi value or something like that, which you need to remain, you want it to be constant, only then you will do that, right?
Yeah, I keep facing this error that day. Error non-constant used with constant. So when I do the program, right, the last program, I keep facing this
Can
error.
you can you do next what you do next time when you're writing a code and you're facing this problem? Just take a snapshot of that code, or just the question answer sheet that I'll share it with you today. Write the code there and also the error. So probably I'll see it and then I can explain it to you why that error is coming.
But sometimes you cannot. In some cases, right, that the variable name must be let. You cannot always put. You get what I mean? Sometimes you are playing around with the variable, and then it is unable to be constant. How can you pass into the uh
Okay. Wherever you face this problem, show it to me, because like talking in general sense, it won't make sense where the error will come and where not.
mm,
Only concept behind it is that when you define it as a constant, use it as a constant, and when you're not defining it as a constant, don't use it as a constant. Do one thing wherever you have a problem, wherever you like you were asking me questions, just take a snapshot or copy the code there in the word file, and we'll discuss it in the next session. And I will also give you solutions in that word file itself whenever I
okay, can.
the next thing is stack and heap. So while we are defining or
Yeah,
declaring
this
instructions,
is a very hard topic in Rust, I think.
it's not hard. It's only when you understand it's easier. If you don't understand, it will always be difficult.
Okay, okay.
So let's discuss stack first. Uh, it's more used when you are declaring a variable and you want that value, the value for that, for that data type. So we define that compile time. Now, when I say compile time, means that when I'm declaring a simple variable where I don't define the data type, I don't know what value it will hold at compile time. What is the size basically? So for any integer, it's 32 bytes, right?
Yeah, yeah, integer to
Like,
zero, but
like we define I32. So I32 means that any integer value that is 32 bytes.
I
So
don't think
at
we can
compile
declare I8, I4, right? It should be I32 or I64, right?
it does not support like that. If it does, yes, you can do that, but it does not support 64. It does support 32, you can do that. So when you
Okay,
write
okay.
32 means that is the total size of this data type, and we will know it at compile time, right? So when we know this at compile time, we can keep that memory allocation fixed for that, that only 32 bytes will be required and nothing more will be required. But when we are not defining or when we are not restricting the data type to any size, then it is stored in the heap because the size is not known to us, and the storage can be dynamic at runtime. It can be more than 32, right? So when you need a data type to be more than 32, just leave it as it is, and you can expand the size at runtime. But then at runtime, your program can have memory issues because you don't know what kind of memory it will take.
Okay, I understand.
Uh, is the concept clear, or you want me to explain a little bit more?
Can you explain a little bit more? I think I roughly know, but maybe you can explain more.
Okay. So why there is a difference between a stack and a heap? Basically, stack is like, we have four data types. For example, we have four data types defined in our main function. Two data types where we are writing I32, giving it some value, and two data types we are not writing I32, and we are just simply let x equals to 4 or let y equals to 40 or something like that, right? In these
Yeah.
four data types, the first two where we are defining I32 will go into stack. And in order we are defining it, in that same order it will go into the stack. Now, why we are saying stack? Because though it's a memory allocation, but it is in sequence. So whatever comes first will be stacked first. Whatever comes last will be stacked last, right? It will be in a sequence. Okay, heap is a more random, more dynamic memory allocation, and when we are not defining a size, it will be stored in the heap where the
Yeah.
size of the
So
data
so
type can
so
vary.
so meaning we should always declare the size, right? As you mentioned, try our
So
best
it
to
depends
declare.
on your logic. It depends on your logic. It depends on your requirement. We can't generalize that you should always do that, but depends on what kind of a requirement you have. If you
Okay. Okay.
can define, you should. If you always, it's not possible that you always know in a program that what will be the size of the data type. But yes,
Mm,
if you are definite, if you are sure while coding that it won't exceed 32 bits, then yes, definitely do that.
okay. I get it. Yeah.
Right? It depends on your logic. Okay? So now is it stack and heap clear? Because this again plays a very important role in programming. You should be very clear about it.
Understand. Understand.
So the concept that we will start with is borrowing. This is a very new concept in Rust only.
Mm.
Basically, there is a data type as vector. If you might have seen or worked on vectors in C or C++. Have you ever worked on vectors?
Yeah.
Or
Vector
even
Java also has.
yeah, Java also has vectors.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Rust, there is a concept of borrowing where we
Yeah.
will define always use vectors, but the
Mm.
concept here is like we will transfer the ownership from one entity to another entity temporarily, which means that for a temporary time, the other entity will hold the value and the existing entity will not have the same value. This program just starts with defining a vector. We have just taken some predefined values over here. We will print
Yeah.
them, and then
Okay.
let's see when we run how it goes.
So
Then
the exclamation mark there is a macro, right? Yeah. Yeah. Vector macro. Line 3.
this one, right?
Yeah. The exclamation
Yeah,
mark is a macro,
yes,
right?
yes,
Okay.
that's a macro. We have defined
Okay.
the macro over here
Yeah.
so that this value, why do we define macros? So that we can take this value at compile time.
Good. Okay. Yes.
Create a function over here where we pass this vector over here
Mm.
in this line 8 and
Mm.
try to print it. Simple. That's the only thing. Okay. And after that we have called this function here in line 4, we are again trying to print. Hopefully this will get error because this vector is no more an entity in the main function.
Mm.
Right? Let's execute and see what happens. Okay, so it's saying that does borrow move value v, which means that this value has been borrowed and so it's no longer available here.
How can it be borrow?
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. Whenever we
Uh,
define a vector and
okay,
pass it through a function, then
okay,
in Rust it is called a concept of borrowing. That means we have passed the value of that entity to
oh,
some other entity. For
okay.
temporarily, this value will only be available within this function, and outside this function, it won't be available.
Only apply to vector. How about array?
And yeah, so this is only for vectors for now. As we come, like for other data types, I'll discuss later if it's available or not. But for now, just keep this in mind that this is only for vectors. So we are going to use only for vectors. Now, why
Yeah,
this is done? Do you
the
remember the concept of data structures?
yeah, vector and array in Java, right? Okay, I was a Java developer for 10 years. So vector and array list in Java, one has synchronized and another not synchronized, right? So but in Rust, vector and array, the differences should be vector is you are able to add the size, right? It's like you can make it 2, 3, 4, but array is not so convenient. Something like that. Is that applied to Rust too? Yeah.
Great. Don't think it as a concept of vector. This is a concept of like don't think it of data type. Think it in terms of a concept where we are borrowing the value of one entity and passing it to the other entity. So it's basically don't mix it up like because in Java vector performs like this, so here it will perform like that. Don't
Oh,
think it about vector. Only the concept of borrowing. Only keep that concept in mind. And for
so
that concept, for now we are using vector.
yeah, I know, but in Rust, vector is it's like array, right? Should be I think
Yes,
something like
it is an array. Vector is
oh,
also an array. Normally, arrays also we use in that ways. How this is different, we can come to that later. But for now, the concept mainly here is of borrowing. It's not about
okay,
vector.
okay, can
This is an example that we can tell the compiler that it will hold integer values. So at compile time, it can give it some memory space, right? That's why we do that. Solely to manage memory in that case. So it's your homework. Find out the difference between the two and see why we use it in one way and why we use it in the other way. Is it synchronized? It is not synchronized. All three of them.
is that Rust in Rust also got synchronized non-synchronized concept, is it? Like Java? No,
Yes,
right?
it will have. It will. Ultimately, what is synchronization? Okay, tell me what is when a data type is synchronized and what is when it is not synchronized.
Synchronized is not mystical, it is it can't run parallelly. I mean you run one before the after. Non-synchronized means it allowed to be run parallelly. It's telling the yeah, something like that.
So that's not the perfect answer. That's a very partial and broad
Oh,
overview of synchronized and not
okay,
synchronized. So, but I
okay.
won't go into that detail. Otherwise, this session will miss everything that we need to cover
Yeah,
today. Uh,
okay,
so, two homework for you: find out what is synchronized, what is not synchronized in detail, because that is a very important concept for any programming language. So
okay,
how it is only for Rust, find it only Rust specific, and then we can discuss in the next session. We will make sure to discuss it at length so that it's clear to you. Okay,
okay.
that is one. Second thing is all three data types, passing the data type and not passing the data type, vector, array list, and array. Uh, for now, let's come to the concept of borrowing. So basically, only what we are doing here is we are just passing the value of the entity from one function to the other function. Let me just comment this, and if I comment, the error will go and it will perform fine because now we are not trying to use this vector here after
Mm.
we have passed the entity to the other function. Uh, is the concept clear of borrowing?
I think clear lah. I roughly know.
So that was while we are passing a vector through a function. What we can do, we can also transfer the control by passing a reference. So one way
So
is that
okay. So for passing by value is if let's say parameter by value, then the power is not passing. If let's say for reference, it will pass, right? Something like that.
Yes. Yes. So
Okay.
for value, it is only the value is transferred, so that it means that at compile time we know that this vector will hold this value, and while calling the function, only the value is given to the function. So the function doesn't know what data type or what it is. It only knows that this is the value and I have to print this value, and that's it. That is passed by value. But when we are passing by reference, which means what is the storage location of that data type, and it will actually point to the storage location. So if we try to change the value will get changed in pass by reference. I guess we discussed it in the last session to pass by value and pass by reference. Is it still not clear? If something is not clear, we can discuss that.
It's very clear. I the day I have homework, right? The second and third question is like this, so
Okay,
I understand clearly. Yeah, yeah.
okay, that's fine. So just this part is different. You see, we are passing the reference. We are not passing the value.
Okay.
Right? When we are using ampersand, which means we are not passing the value, one thing. When we are passing the reference,
Uh,
what happens for only this within this function, when this function is executing, the reference will be passed, the ownership will also be transferred, but we can again, when the calling control comes here in this line, we can again print that. So there will be no error in this case. So if we
okay.
want, we can avoid the borrowing concept or even use it to our benefit, that temporarily assign the value to something, and then we
Uh,
can use it in the other function also.
yeah. Let me say in a literal way. So meaning the power is passed to the print underscore vector function and then passed back to the main function. Is it something like that?
No, it's not passed back because we are not returning anything to this function. Any value or any data type is only passed when a function is returning that value. So it's not returning, so it's not passing back. It is only the existing, this print v0 is the existing value that it used to hold, because it we declared it here. Now, when we pass it through this function, what will happen? This function will also hold this value, but it is actually not the value. It is pointing to the memory reference. Any questions here?
No question.
Then within this borrowing concept, again, when we use mutable, what will be the difference? If we modify a borrowed resource, means like we are uh, either we are using pass by value or pass by reference, and we are borrowing the value of a function, and we have defined sorry, data type, and we have defined it as mutable. Then what will happen? Only the reference can operate on the mutable variable.
Yeah. Let's see how it works with.
So this is one function, add one, and this is main, where we have declared an integer which is mutable. Okay, and then we are what we do is we add one value to this mutable function. We are passing it as reference. Can you see that we are passing it by reference?
Yeah, yeah, I know. And there's a n%.
Yeah,
The
the ampersand mutable will be that we are borrowing this value, adding this value in the function, and then printing it back. So when we print it here, we get the value that has been added, that has been changed. So we
yeah,
get
become
the
4.
edited.
Yeah. Should be 4, right?
Right. It is. Is it clear? Any questions?
No question.
Then we move to another new concept that Rust has.
Yeah, looks like the topic become harder and harder.
Yeah, because the initial topics are a little easier, but then as you try to develop more, it becomes harder. But
Right.
only way out is keep practicing, keep writing more and more code. Right? Target only, for a day, target only 4 5 uh, programs, small programs of each concept, and then your concepts will be clear. But if you try to only copy and only read the program or coding, then you will not be able to uh, understand the concept. So the more you write the code, the more you will understand. Slice is something like data structures in C. where we can actually point to the memory location and extract the exact value in the memory location. Now, why they have come up with the concept of slice in Rust is more specific to gaming oriented and for
Mm.
cryptocurrency. So these two programming, what do you say? This new concept has been introduced so that you can use it more for them, more to manage the memory better, manage it in a way of blocks. Because in Java it's only a reference point in memory, but here it is like a storage, like a stack, like we had in C and C++. So this is the syntax which we use, where we can exactly say what is the starting index and what is the end index. Okay.
Yeah, but
So
the data, what is the data structure means? Data underscore structure is the variable name, is it? Or I
sorry,
see
come again.
in the syntax section, right? There's a data underscore structure. That this one is a variable name, is it? It's a reference variable name.
Yeah, it's just a name. That's it.
Oh, just a name. Okay, okay.
This is basically the syntax that we have to use. Okay. So we have to use it in similar way. We can put any start index or any end index over here, and sliced value is a name to that. Let we always use for others. This is the name that we give to any variable that we are declaring or defining or creating an instance to. This is the data type basically. So here it's data structure. For all slices we will use data structure. We will use the square bracket. Start index will be 0, 2, 3, whatever, two dots, and the last index, which can be 5, 6, 8, whatever. Right?
Okay.
We have created this diagram, this tutorials, to show that in the memory, this is a block that is created, and every index has its own storage space. So T will be stored in a different location, U will be stored in a different location, and whenever we want, we can pick, extract U from here and replace it with something else, or do any exact memory location. We don't have to run a loop like we did in, for strings and something like that. But yes, for strings again, we will have to use that. Let's take a example of data structures here again and see how that works. So this is the way we can declare it and use,
Oh,
and then this is the slice, right? And we have just normally printed it. Now what we have done, we have taken the index from 4. Now we haven't taken the whole thing. Let me run and show you. So the length
4
of the
to
string is 9.
5 letters, right? 9 minus 4 equal to 5.
Yeah, so
So
we have taken it from the string, fourth character of the string.
4 character. No, I see 5 character.
Uh, I mean, starting point is the fourth, the index where the index will be 4. That is the starting point, which means 0, 1, 2,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
3, 4. So R is the first character that it will
Okay,
be.
okay, okay.
That's what.
4,
That is.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 numbers. Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, okay, understand.
We have
Not including
written it,
9. Not including 9.
not including 9 because the index starts from 0.
Okay.
If the length is 9, the index will be 0 to 8, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is clear, or we can see it in the diagram also again.
Yeah, very clear.
This is basically the index. So length, if you try to take out the length, it will give 9. But when we refer to one character, it will start from 0, and that's why it is still 8. This is the function on slice. And again, in slice also, we have mutable slice. So which means that we can give it a value that can be defined at compile time, so that like a fixed value. Find data type here, which is this. We know the value. We are using it as slice. This is a method function we have created. We have in this function we have passed this data structure, which is 1 to 4 slice, and printed. Let me just
Yeah, slice is something like substring in Java.
slice is something like,
Substring. Heard before.
yeah, substring is the one of the methods that string API provides. So
Yeah, yeah,
substring,
yeah.
there we can use it as one of the methods in string. Yes, kind of like that. not exactly,
Kind of
but
like that.
do you understand this code, or should I explain further?
I think I can understand it myself. I find that the syntax for print line is a bit.
Syntax
You know
for
what I mean?
print line here.
No, print line. I mean, in Rust, right, the print line syntax is a bit. You see, line number 12, right? Line number 12.
Okay, this one.
I don't like the fact that I need to pass in this colon and question mark.
But
In
this is
other
the
program,
syntax.
yeah, this is a syntax, no choice, but I don't like it. I think it should be straightforward print line, then slice. That's it. Or open bracket, close bracket, open bracket, slice, close bracket.
I
So I
know it
think
is a little confusing because they are actually using
it's
curly
not
brackets
confusing.
inside.
It's tedious. Tedious is the correct word.
Okay, okay, okay.
But no choice.
I
No
agree
choice.
to it.
Rust is like
Yeah,
this. They need to follow. So structure. What is structure actually?
okay. So it is again a representation of arrays, but here what is the change in structure is we can define various data types in one structure. So if we define three is the size of the array, then three different data types could be assigned. That is why we say that it represents a homogeneous collection of values. By homogeneous, we mean that it can have
Yeah. What
different
is
data types.
homogeneous mean? Yeah. So different is
Yeah,
it? Homogeneous.
yeah, different data types is that's
Oh.
why we are calling it homogeneous collection.
This one is like key value pairs or something like that.
Yes,
Key
it
value.
has a key value because every field we will define that this is one key which is any name you can give, and the value will be the data type, and we will define it like this. So there
Okay.
will be a field will be any name we give it to it, and colon the data type. So data type could be integer or float, whatever you want it.
Okay.
And this is the syntax for it. Yeah, even if you don't like the syntax, but we have to follow the syntax, whatever.
Yeah, I understand. No choice.
So whenever we declare any structure, we will declare it like this, and we put a colon, semicolon after it,
Mm.
so that we know that it is defined because it has multiple lines. That's why we have to do this,
Okay.
right? Because we can't define it in single line, otherwise it won't be readable. So just to make it readable, we won't put any semicolon here. We won't put till we come to the last in the curly bracket and then the semicolon. So from here till here, this is all declaration of the structure.
Yeah, this should be the same across the different programming languages. But quite same.
Yeah, the semicolon thing, right?
Mm. Comma and semicolon thing quite similar.
Yeah, comma and semicolon is. I wish the print was also similar, so it wasn't so
Print.
tedious as it is.
Yeah. Maybe new Rust version will solve the problem. I think.
I think we should put a suggestion and that make it like other programming languages. It is getting. This is the main where we are defining a data structure of employee. The employee has a string value, and we can give the value right over here also. So this will be like a compile time. We will have all the values and the structure definition here. What the structure will contain? The structure will contain a name, which will be a string. It will contain a value company, which will again be a string, and a data type of age, which will be U32. Right? And then the string. We execute it, and if you have any questions or confusions, let me
No, I think yeah, this one I know. Struck, right? Yeah.
know. Yeah, that is the syntax. This is any name we can give over here. This is also any name we can give. Data types you already know, colon data types, right? So at if we
Oh,
mod
I
want
get
to,
it. Struck is a short form for structure. Oh, yeah.
yeah, basically structure is a short form of structure, but it is also you can say a syntax to declare a structure. We can also modify an instance of a If we have a mutable struct, we can also modify the instance of it. And how we can do it? It's a little example is given over here. We are defining a mutable structure employee. Okay. And then what we can do is use the name of the structure dot and any of the names that we have given here that equals to whatever value we wanted to change. Like earlier we had defined it to 50, but we can change it here to 40 using the dot. Like we do in any function that we invoke. I think so after object creation in Java, if you remember, it's very similar to that.
Yeah, quite similar. Yeah.
In fact, any function or method that we invoke, we use dot only for that. So,
Yeah, it's this one a bit similar. I think dot similar in JavaScript as well. Java and JavaScript also like this.
yeah, JavaScript also is same. We just use dot and just invoke the function or the method of that particular object. Then we also can pass a structure to a function. This is an example or a syntax for that. And again, it can be passed by value, passed by reference. So if we simply pass it like this, it will pass all the values, and we can use dot function to update those values. Right? Anything you want to ask?
No.
Let's try to understand this one by one.
Yeah.
This is one structure, employee, right? We have declared one structure. This is another structure, and we have just given it different values. So the first one is only declaring what kind of a structure it will have. Second structure that we have created is with the values, right? And in the main, what we have done is we have given another structure that is employee one and created a method display to display all of these values at a go.
Yeah, I think this one is a bit quite. I can understand this one. Struct stuff is like it's like class, but not similar with class that you have all the attribute inside. Maybe it's a class without function, so you can declare the variable there. Yeah.
Yeah, something similar to a class, not exactly, but yes, something similar to that.
Yeah, not as powerful as class, but then
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Not as powerful as class, but yes,
Mm.
something. The syntax and the basic concept is a little bit similar, but yes, it's a very at a very broad level. Like you can use it in future, or you might not need it at all.
Yeah.
Basically, it's only required when you want to declare a multiple data type and make it as a single object. In that case, you will require and you need multiple instances of that. So just declare it once and then create multiple instances of it. So that is one use of it you can think of. Basically, employee data or a student data. And after this, any struct you can use to return value. So this is just a normal feature, but this is the syntax we will use it. So like not a difficult concept. It's very similar to what normally functions are doing. It's just that we are returning a structure over here. An example where we are returning the structure. This is the main function. Okay, we'll discuss step by step. First, let's discuss the method that we have created and the structure that we have created. So this is one function who is elder, and it's taking a structure as an input, one employee one and employee two, and returning another structure. Basically, we are comparing the two structures, finding out who's elder. So comparing the age of the two employees, we have put a if condition, taking the age, and then returning that employee. So we will know which one is elder just by passing this value and then returning that same structure here. Do you understand that?
Just like I mentioned, the who is elder line 20, right? Means that the function name, or it is a function name. Yeah.
This is the function name basically.
Yeah. It's not hard, this one.
And then we are displaying here. This is the basic structure of the employee. that we are passing over here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe.
Hope this session was helpful for any programmer who is willing to learn Rust as a beginner. Next, we will cover more on Rust, so stay tuned for more. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and keep coding.